Today, I'm going to show you how to create a bunny out of clouds in Photoshop. Hey guys, and welcome to Phlearn. My name is Aaron Nace, and you can find me on Phlearn.com, where we make learning Photoshop and photography fun. And today's episode is going to be so much fun because I'm going to show you how to make a bunny out of clouds in Photoshop. Now you might be thinking, this is an incredibly specific episode. Why would you do that? I don't want to make a bunny out of clouds. Well, there's a lot you can learn from here. And we're going to be making a bunny out of clouds in today's episode, but you can use these exact same techniques to create just about any shape or even text that you want it to. So we're going to show you how to bring in a reference image, and then we're going to show you how to shape the clouds around this reference image, basically making whatever shape you want. Then we're going to show you how to load up a custom brush that's going to be available for download. Now this custom brush, we actually recreated a cloud as a brush, and we're going to be using this to define the edges of the cloud, giving it a really realistic appearance. And you can use these techniques to create any shape you want out of clouds. Like if you want to say, I love you to your sweet someone in your life, you can do that with this episode. All right guys, let's get into Photoshop. So here's where we're starting today's episode. We've got a bunny and we've got some clouds, and we're going to be making these clouds look like they're made into a bunny. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to use my move tool here. We're going to click on our move tool, and I'm going to click and drag from one image over to the other. There we go. We've got our bunny in our image. I'm going to hit F for full screen and zoom in a little bit. And I want to go ahead and cut my bunny out of the background. Now we don't have to do this incredibly well. We can do a very rough version. So what I'm going to do is grab my magic wand tool. There we go. We'll bring our tolerance up to about anywhere between 10 and 15 is going to work. There we go. Let's select on our background, and then let's click on our layer mask button there. Okay. Now you can see it cut out the opposite of what we want. So we're going to click on our bunny or whatever shape you got and hit Command I. So we just got our bunny in there. All right. Our bunny is going to be sitting right about there. Maybe let's just make him a little bit smaller. Command T, and then there we go. Looking good. Okay, so we've got a bunny and we've got some clouds. Now we're only using this bunny as a reference. We're not actually going to convert this photo to make it look like it's out of clouds. We're going to use the clouds in the existing image. So let's go ahead and make the bunny invisible for now. We're going to click on our background layer, and then I need a way to select out these clouds. So on our background, we're going to go to Select, and then down here to Color Range. Okay, now here in the color range, we're going to click on our actual image, which is going to allow us, we'll just click there, to select out that white. So we're just going to click here, there we go, and something like that. You can see like that's what's going to get selected. So whatever's light here is going to get selected, whatever's dark will not get selected. So let's go ahead and hit OK. You can see that gets selected. Now from our background layer, we're going to hit Control or Command J, and that's going to duplicate it to a new layer. So Control or Command J duplicates whatever's in that selection to a new layer. So we can see background, now we have a new layer, layer 2. So if I click and drag this up, we can see we have exactly those clouds right above it, which is cool. Now, we have one little thing. You can see there's a little bit of an edge there that makes the clouds not look like they blend together so well. We're going to change our blend mode from normal over here to lighten, and that's just going to allow these clouds, look how well they blend together now. It just looks like clouds hanging out together, having a good time there. All right, so we're going to be using these clouds to create the bunny. So let's go ahead and turn our bunny back on visible. Let's put the clouds above our bunny real quick, and then we're going to do this in a couple of different layers. And we're going to be using things like layer masks to get our bunny looking how we want. So we've got the front of the bunny there. We're going to hit Command J, and I'm going to just bring this up. This is going to be the back of the bunny there. Okay, Command J again. All right, we're going to make this area, just deciding what I want the head of the bunny to look like. All right, now if you want to try to like define, like if, for instance, if you want to rotate your clouds around to try to make what's going on in the background line up, you can totally do that. All right, that looks pretty good there. Let's hit Command J one more time, and here we're going to get the clouds up there at the top for the ears. All right, cool. Now, basically my job is to use layer masks to hide different parts of these clouds, making it look like the clouds are made into a bunny. So if I make my bunny invisible, you can see we just got a whole bunch of different clouds here. Okay, Now, when you're creating a layer mask, let's go ahead and start off with just one layer and show you basically the idea here. So a layer mask is basically a way to make one part of a layer visible and another part of the layer invisible. So if I click on my layer mask button here and I use my brush tool and I paint black on my layer mask, all right, this is basically the idea of what we're going to do. Now let's make our bunny invisible, and we can see that looks okay, but look at the edge here. It really doesn't look that great. The edge of the bunny doesn't look like it's made up of clouds. It just looks like a soft brush in Photoshop, right? And here comes the tricky part. So instead of just using a soft edge brush, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a brush that's made out of cloud, which is like pretty amazing. And this brush is available for download on phlearn.com. Just go to the bottom of this episode, there in the description, you can download this brush. All right, so how do you make a brush out of a cloud? We're going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to show you how to actually apply it on this image. So how do you make a brush out of a cloud? Well, I'm going to show you. So let's go ahead and turn on one of our layers here. We've got this layer here. Now I'm going to go ahead and get it to a new document. So let's go ahead, we're just going to right click here on this layer. Okay, we're going to go to duplicate layer. There we go. And over here we're going to go to a new document. All right, there we have our cloud. There we go, looking pretty good. Now, what we want to do is I'm going to create a solid color layer. We want this to be white, and we want this to be underneath our cloud. Okay, so we've got a white layer, and then we've got our cloud layer. Now our cloud, we're going to put this back to normal. So there we can see that's what our cloud looks like now. Okay, now when you're creating a custom brush, you actually want the brush shape to be black and the background to be white. So in this case, I need that cloud to be black. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the transparency of this layer. Now locking the transparency only lets me affect whatever the visible pixels on this layer are. Okay, lock the transparency of that layer, hit Shift Delete, and then we're going to fill that layer with black, making something like this. All right, now if you guys don't want to create your own cloud brush, it's not a big deal because you can just download the ones from this episode on phlearn.com. All right, basically I'm just like erasing anything around the edges that we might see there. Okay, and that is all you need to do to create a cloud brush. So now that we have this shape in there, we'll go ahead and just crop this in just a little bit more. There we go. And we're going to go to Edit, and then down here to Define Brush Preset, and we're just going to call this Cloud, and hit Enter there. Okay, now we have a cloud brush. So let's go back to this original image. All right, and we're going to hit B for the brush tool. We're going to right click and go all the way down to here, and then check it out. You can see the outline of my brush actually looks like a cloud. So as I paint, check this out. It's like bonk, I just painted on a cloud. Let's make sure our settings are there. All right, so I could just paint all these clouds all day long if I want to. All right, now I went ahead and already saved out a couple cloud brushes for you guys. So here's how you go ahead and load those into Photoshop. Go to Window and down to Brush. All right, so here we have our brush. We're going to go to our brush presets. Where is that at? All right, Window down to Brush Presets. There we go. Sorry, don't go to Brush, go to Brush Presets. Now we're going to click here and we're going to go to Load Brushes. All right, so we're going to load these brushes in. All right, and we're going to go to the download for this episode. So if you download this brush on phlearn.com, all you have to do is go to Load and then phlearncloudbrushes.avr. So we'll hit Open there. Okay, cool. So now you can see we've got a couple brushes here at our disposal. Let's just right click with our brush tool and we can see we've got two different cloud brushes loaded into Photoshop. So this is the one we're going to be using right here. It's already loaded with all kinds of goodies on it. So you can see I can click a few times and there we go. We've got a really nice cloud brush here in Photoshop. All right, now let's get to actually making that bunny. So we're going to use this cloud brush to define the edges of the bunny. All right, so jumping back into Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and make our bunny visible, and then we've got our clouds here on this layer. And remember, what we want to do is create a realistic edge for our clouds. So we're going to paint with our new brush tool to create basically the edge of our bunny. So as I paint here, basically it's just going to fill this area in with an area that looks like clouds. So instead of just giving it an unrealistic edge, Let's make that invisible now. We can see that this actually looks like clouds because, well, it's made from clouds. So we can see we can paint this edge in, and there we go. As long as I keep painting it in there, it's just going to keep looking like clouds, which is really cool. All right, and all we have to do now is basically do the rest of the bunny. So let's put a layer mask right over there. We're going to paint black over this part of the bunny. There we go. I recommend painting black on the outside first, and then painting white from the inside out a little bit. And that's just going to give it that like really nice puffy cloud shape. That's awesome. The sweet desired puffy cloud shape. All right, let's click on this layer mask and we'll do the same thing here. All right, looking good. And we'll make our layer mask just a little bit bigger, give it some nice puff. There we go. This one too, we'll make a layer mask here, and I'm going to paint black over the majority of the area. Again, I'm just using this outline of the original bunny photo to define where this layer is going to be visible and not visible. And we got our special brush that makes everything look like clouds. All right, there we go. Paint white in there a little bit. This layer mask, I'm going to hold Alt or Option and click on my layer mask, making a black layer mask. And then all I have to do is paint white right over here. All right. Pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and make our bunny invisible and check out our bunny clouds, which actually look pretty awesome. Now, I'm just going to lower the opacity of my brush just a little bit and paint it in towards the edges just a little bit to kind of give it a little bit more like a realistic, you know, you don't want your edges to be like incredibly precise here because it's, you know, it's clouds, right? There's not, you don't want it to look like too photoshopped and too perfect. But the real cool part is they actually do look like, well, the clouds have realistic edges and we totally have a bunny. So we got one more thing we're going to add to this, okay? And basically, let's just paint that back visible there. All right, we're gonna add a little bit more definition to the white area in our clouds, okay? So this is a bonus here. All right, now we've got our cloud bunny looking really good. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna create an adjustment layer. We're gonna go up to Curves Adjustment Layer, and I'm gonna make this a little bit brighter here, okay? Just a bit brighter. There we go. Now let's go ahead and close that down. I'm going to hit Control or Command I on this layer mask, okay? And then I'm going to use my cloud brush to just kind of define just a little bit of a brighter area, like right around the top of the bunny. There we go. And this is just going to help give it some of that nice bunny definition. There we go. So basically just outlining the top makes it kind of look like the light is hitting the top of the clouds there in that bunny shape, giving it a little bit more depth. And if you want to, you can create a curves adjustment. We're gonna make this a little bit darker now. All right, and then I'm gonna hit Command I, and I can make this a little bit darker here on the bottom of the bunny. I love that I'm making a bunny in today's episode. It's so much fun. All right, on the bottom of the bunny. There we go. So we're just adding a little bit of definition to the bunny. All right, cool. Now we have our bunny. Let's just shift click on all of these layers and I can move them around using my move tool. Really nice and easy, so I can fit them with the rest of my image and we're good to go. Let's just add a layer mask because it looks like we've got some areas around here that just duplicated unnecessarily and we're good to go. All right guys, let's go ahead and show you the before and the after. Here's our before and the after. Cool. All right, and you can use these techniques to create any shape you want in Photoshop. The real key here is duplicating that cloud over and over to cover the space that you want, and then using a cloud brush to define the edges, because if you just use a regular brush, it's not going to look like a cloud. So we actually created a cloud brush to define the edges of the clouds, making it look completely realistic. You can do this with text, you can do this with an image, anything you can think of, guys. So to recap the episode, we started off by duplicating our cloud. We went to Select and down to Color Range and chose white. Next, we duplicated this from the background layer and we changed our blend mode from normal down to lighten. This allowed us to lighten the areas, allowing the clouds to blend in together. Next, we duplicated this a couple of times, allowing us coverage for the entire bunny. Next, we created a cloud brush. To do this, we duplicated our cloud to a new document, we hit that lock transparency icon, and then we filled it with black. We made a white layer underneath and then went down to edit and then down to define brush preset. This gave us the actual shape of the brush. Now in this case, we actually showed you how to make your own brush, but if you want to just download the brushes we used in this episode, just follow the description right down below. Then all you have to do is use the cloud brush to define the edges of the bunny, or whatever shape you have. In this case, we just painted black around the edges and then white where the bunny is. As a bonus, we added some light and some dark on the top and the bottom to give it a little bit more definition. That's all there is to it, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and watching today's episode. If you love Photoshop and photography like I do, you want to click on your screen right about now. We're going to put a big subscribe button on there. That's the way you can stay tapped in and receive free Photoshop and photography episodes every single week. And if you have an idea for an episode or a question or a comment about today's episode, leave it right down below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, guys. I'll learn you later. Woo! Bunny out of clouds. I feel like God. Bunny! Orangutan! Orangutan! What? That's not how you say it. Tang? There's no G at the end. There's no G at the end of that word. Today, I'm going to show you how to create sunlight through clouds in Photoshop. Hey guys, and welcome to Phlearn. My name is Aaron Nace, and you can find me on Phlearn.com, where we make learning Photoshop and photography fun. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you an awesome, simple technique you can use to create light rays through clouds in Photoshop. We're going to start off today's episode by showing you how to analyze a photo to find out the best place you could actually make the source of your sun rays. Then we're going to be using the simple brush tool and the radial filter to create these light rays. It's simple and fun to do. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop. So here's our image for today. This is the perfect image for creating something like light rays because we do have clouds in the sky, but we also have a light source. You can see the sun is behind the light source. This is really important when you want to do this type of effect because we're going to be creating sunlight through these clouds, and if there's no sun visible in the image, it doesn't make any sense at all. So before you do this to a photo, make sure that you can actually see like, okay, cool, there's a light source in this image. It'll make a lot more sense. Okay, so we're going to start off by duplicating our background layer. We're going to hit Control or Command J to duplicate our layer. Then I'm going to right click and go to Convert to Smart Object. All right, now this layer is a smart object, and what that allows me to do is use a smart filter. Now here's why smart filters are cool, because you can actually change a smart filter very easily. All you have to do, I'll show you right here. We're going to go to Filter, we're going to go down to Blur, and we're going to go down to Radial Blur. Okay, now a radial blur, here's the actual key to creating these light rays. You got a couple options here. We've got a spin option and a zoom option. We want to click on zoom. Now our amount we want to bring way up, somewhere right about 90%. Looks pretty good. Now in this case, I'm just going to hit OK. All right, and we've got a big blur going on our image. Now obviously this isn't where we want the source of our light rays to be coming from. I want it to actually come up from this area over here. Now remember earlier we created this as a smart object? Well, that allows us to use smart filters. So a smart filter we can go back and edit after the fact. Like I've applied the smart filter, but now if I want to change it, all I have to do, this is real cool, all I have to do is double click right here where it says radial blur, and I can change this. So I'm going to change the blur center. We're just going to go right up there, hit OK again, and now we're going to change it to right about where we want the sky. I'm going to turn this layer off and on and decide, you know what, I want it to come the blur right from about there. That's where I want the source of my sun rays to be. So let's double click on a radial blur there, and we're just going to bring this up just a little bit. Let's hit OK there. All right, and my goal is to make this the exact source, there we go, where we want the center of our light rays to be. All right, and that looks perfect. It's right there on the actual light source. So we've got our light source and we've got the blur center right there. Now, this is super handy because we can just repeat this filter over and over again. So we're actually done with the background layer. We don't need this anymore. All we did from here was to figure out where we want the center of our blur to be. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to start painting those light rays and applying that blur. All right, guys, I know that was a little bit complicated, but everything moving forward is really simple. So now what we're going to do, we already have the center of our light rays. We're just going to make this layer invisible. Okay, we're going to create a new layer on top of that, and I'm going to hit B for my brush tool. And now what we want to do is create our little light rays. So we're basically going to sample our highlight color, and in this case, it's going to be white. Now, if you're working with a sky that has like a beautiful like orange sunset, you might want to sample that orange color. But in this case, it's going to be white. Whatever it is, it's going to be the color of the sunlight in your image. Okay, so here we have white, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my brush tool, and I'm just going to paint right around my image, kind of focusing on the highlight areas around my photograph. All right, there we go. We'll just kind of paint a couple dots on here, and we're good to go. Now, we're going to go to Filter, and then down here, instead of going to blur and all the way over to radial blur and then doing the same thing over again, we're just going to use the radial blur right here. Now, anything that shows up on the top of your filter menu, this is basically going to redo the last filter you did. So remember, we found the exact blur center we wanted with this layer. So now on this layer, all I have to do is go to Filter and down here to Radial Blur, or hit Command F. That's the real secret here. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to hit Command F, and it's going to apply the same exact blur that we used on this photo, okay, with the same center and the same amount. So now all I have to do is use my brush tool, and I'm just going to paint some circles around here and hit Command F. It's going to apply that blur. So we can really just kind of like fine tune our light rays. If I paint some over here, we want more light rays over here, cool. I'll just paint more white over there and then hit Command F, and it's going to blur it out for us. And all of a sudden, these little spots basically just get blurred out to where they look like light rays, which is really, really cool. Now, if you want to start over, really easy. Okay, just delete that layer. We'll create a new layer on top of there. And now I'll paint some more white little dots around here. This is so cool. It's so easy to do. And now we're going to hit Control or Command F. All right, and we're going to get more light rays. All right, we'll just paint some around here. You could use larger brush strokes if you want larger, or you can go ahead and create some like little small guys here. There we go, and that's going to give you more defined shapes. Like you can see, we'll hit Command F a couple more times, and that's going to give us, there we go. Let's just kind of connect those guys. You don't have to be super careful with what you're doing, because everything gets a blur. It all kind of just like, if it looks like that, just hit Command F a couple more times, and it's going to start to just like blur into exactly what you want. All right, there we go. So you can see this is definitely like a process, and you can get kind of like whatever you want out of it. So we have like a few of these like, you know, nice small lines there, and then we have some of the larger lines down there. All right, let's do one more. I'm going to turn that layer off. This is going to be basically what I want to be my final here. All right, so we definitely want some light kind of coming over here. I want a lot of light there. All right, get some on the top going on. We'll hit Control or Command F. It's just going to make our light rays as we go. It's really quick and easy to do. All right, and some over there too, kind of like pushing past those clouds. All right, and if you have a blank area there, let's go ahead and connect that. Cool. All right, a little bit more at the top, and then we're going to be done. All right, there we go. That looks great. So we have our light rays, and they're from the exact same center of our light source. Now, if you do want to go ahead and apply a layer mask onto this, let's just click on our layer mask button right here. And I'm just going to paint with black on my layer mask. And if you do have anything that's like, you know what, I'd like it to be a little bit less visible over the ground here, or you know, maybe in this area, just choose a large black brush with a soft edge, and you can just kind of like paint it away a little bit. That's going to help you get a little bit more of a realistic result and allow you to fine tune where your actual light rays show up. Okay, cool. So that's it, guys. Let's just show you the before and the after with this photo. Here's our before and the after. All right, guys, that's all there is to creating sunlight through clouds in Photoshop. Just follow these key steps. First, you're going to want to make sure you can actually see the light source in your image. So if you got a picture of clouds and there's absolutely no sun visible in this image, don't use this effect because it's not going to look good. So make sure you can see that light source and you're good to go. Then you want to duplicate your background layer and right-click and go to Convert to Smart Object. Now, if it's a smart object, you can use a smart filter, which can be changed at any time. So we're going to go to Filter, down to Blur, and over to Radial Blur. From here, you can choose Spin or Zoom. We're going to click on Zoom and then bring your amount all the way up to about 90%. For the blur center, you want to choose this as the center of your light source. So you're pretty much going to have to guess here. Go ahead and hit OK, and then fine-tune your adjustments by double-clicking on that smart filter. You can change the blur center at any time. Hit OK when you got it good, and you're good to go. So now that you got your filter all set up to go, this is super easy. Just create a new layer and paint with white over top of where you want your light rays to be. This is just going to be a bunch of little dots of light. Then hit Control or Command F to apply the same filter over and over again. This is going to stretch out those little dots into actual light rays. All right, guys, this technique is really simple and can make a big difference in your images. If you love Photoshop and photography like I do, go ahead and click on your screen right about now. We'll send you free Photoshop and photography episodes every single week. And if you have an idea for an episode or a question or a comment, leave it right down below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, guys. I'll learn you later. Bye, everyone. And for those of you who are curious, yes, I am wearing my Flern members only jacket. Basically, we just ordered a members only jacket and took it to an embroiderer and had them put Flern on here, but I think it's pretty cool. And we're testing out a new microphone setup. Last week we were using a big old like condenser microphone here, and it was actually in the shot. And now we've got a little tiny lav mic here as well. And we actually ordered another one. So we're keep doing these audio tests. Our goal is to get something that's like, you know, the best possible audio quality, but also like non-obstructive to the shot. So thanks for hanging out with us and exploring the process of audio with us. And when we do figure out what the best audio options are, we'll make an episode on that and then show you guys. Then we're gonna go through and use a radial filter to give it. Then we're gonna go. All right, we're gonna start today's episode by crepuscular rays. Crepuscular. I don't know how to say that.
Gue, sumpah gue. Kalau gue udah
kembali. Yang aku udah nyampe nih, kamu di mana? Di atas mana? Mau dibilang menjalik?
So you want to learn how to beatbox. It's easy.
It's easy. Okay, let's go.
Just say booty.
Booty. Okay.
Watch.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Booty, booty. Booty, booty.
Booty, booty. Booty, booty. Booty, booty.
Booty, booty.
Non, t'abuses. Booty, booty.
Booty, booty.
Booty, booty.